Okay, so we're talking about the types of white blood cells. So there's 5 different types of white blood cells, and I'm going to color them. I'm going to list them in a certain way and with colors in a certain way. So the first type of white blood cell is a neutrophil. And you'll see a ton of these. When you look at a slide and there's white blood cells there, you're going to see some neutrophils. About 50 to 70% of white blood cells you'll see will be neutrophils. The function of a neutrophil is basically phagocytosis. And they like to eat bacteria. How long do they last? Well, they don't live forever, these cells. They do a lot of cleaning and stuff like that. So they don't last forever, or most of them don't. So 1 to 2 days is about how long that they last. And they're going to come in when you cut yourself or whatever. They're going to come in and clean up bacteria and things like that for that. So how do they look? So a white or a neutrophil white blood cell has a nucleus that is lobed, and it takes up like most of the cell really, but the nucleus looks kind of like this. And it does have granules because this is a granulocyte. So it's got granulocytes in the cytoplasm. Okay. Sorry. All right, so in the nucleus, of course, there are not going to be granulocytes. Okay, so other kind of information about that, they do have obviously granules. These are granulocytes, and their granules are pyrogens, which means they instigate fever, or they start fever. Okay, so this is a granulocyte. So I'm going to do the granulocytes in blue. The agranulocytes I'm going to do in purple. Maybe, let's see what kind of colors I've got here. Yeah, we'll do them in purple. Okay, so the next cell is a lymphocyte, and this one is going to be an agranulocyte. And I'm doing it in this way because I'm doing the cells in the rank of how many there are in the blood at any given time. So about 20 to 40% are going to be lymphocytes. They function in acquired immunity. So guess what? These actually last a lifetime. Okay? It's going to be the only ones that last a lifetime. All right? And they look like... These cells look weird because they look like... let's do another color for the... Let's just do like a pink color for the nucleus. So the nucleus like takes up the whole cell. It's like this big old, it's like all nucleus. Okay, and again, no granulocytes. These are agranulocytes. So, other information? Basically, you've got two types of lymphocytes. You've got B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. And they both act a little differently in immunity, which we will talk about when we get to the immune system. All right, the next type of cell is also an agranulocyte, and it's a monocyte. This is about 2 to 8% of cells that are seen. All right, these are big phagocytes. So phagocytosis, these are big eaters, mostly bacteria. When they migrate into the tissues, I'll just put this in a little bit of a different color. But when they migrate into tissues, they become macrophages. Macrophage. So macrophages. Okay, when they're in the blood, they are monocytes. When they go into the tissues, they become macrophages and they eat. All right, they eat bacteria. They last about, they're in the blood about maybe 8 hours. And then they go into the tissue. Okay. All right, and what do they look like? So they look like little, they have a large nucleus, and the nucleus looks kind of like that. And again, this is an agranulocyte, so there's no granules in the cytoplasm. Just this like hooking looking nucleus there. All right. And other information about them. They're huge eaters. And of course they change when they're in the tissues. They become macrophages, which we just said over there. All right, the next cell is a granulocyte, and it's called an eosinophil. And this is about 1 to 4% of cells in the blood are these. And these are cytotoxic. And what that means is they release like poisons that will kill microbes. And specifically parasites. So they sort of target parasites. They last about 6 to 12 hours. And they look like this. So their nucleus, they have a big nucleus, and it looks kind of like this. So this is their nucleus. And then they have, use another color. They have a bunch of granules all in their cytoplasm. Okay. And other information about them, the granules are released in response to parasites. And allergens. Okay. All right, and the last one is also an agranulocyte, or excuse me, a granulocyte, sorry. And it's a basophil. So this is going to be basically less than 1%. A basophil their function is inflammation. So it's an inflammation maker. And it increases blood flow. So these also change, they migrate into the cells or tissues, into cells, tissues, sorry. And they become mast cells. They can last a few hours, 2 days. And they have lots of granules. So they look like this, and you can't really see their nucleus. They just have a bunch of big old granules. So they're just full of these things, and they're big, relatively. Okay, so let's write that. Giant granules. Okay, so information about them. So the granules, there are 2 of these. So there's a heparin, or granules that secrete heparin, excuse me, and that is an anticoagulant. Okay, and the other one is histamine. So it will secrete histamine, and that is a vasodilator. Vasodilator. So again, increasing blood flow and inflammation.